chose not to disclose at application stage. I got through to a first round interview, which was face to face with then to be my boss, and again I didn't say anything. I knew it wasn't going to be a written exam or anything like that. It was just simply an open chat. So I didn't feel the need to disclose. You know, as Michael said, there's nothing stopping anybody working at a lower pace today simply by having a vision impairment if they're doing academic or you know, IT-based work, which the majority of people will be doing. So I chose not to disclose then. I actually got through to the third interview, and I actually sort of mentioned to him that I've got a vision impairment. And he said, "Is it going to affect your work?" I said, "It's not." He said, "Then it doesn't bother me." So, you know, I said to him and gave him the assurances that I had everything set up in my life to allow me to do things at the same pace and with the same confidence. So it didn't faze them. And I think certain roles they require more characteristics than you know, well, sight, you know, than a positive sight. You know, they require confidence and the ability to interact with people. That's far more important.
I guess sort of my disclosures kind of sat neatly under the chair, sleeping quiet. But I guess the same as Michael. I've always put it on a form because I just think, well, I'm being honest, I'm being truthful. This is me, like me or loathe me. You know, I've got the skills just as good as anybody else. My brain works, my eyes don't. That's it. And kind of, I have had instances where I have disclosed and I've gotten to interview, and then sort of after the interview I've had people with like I remember I was applying to go and do a Masters in Research, and the university were brilliant. They were like, "Yeah, we want you to do this," and then as soon as the employer that was funding the research found out that I was disabled, they came up with all these excuses like, "No, we can't have you on site for health and safety reasons. We've got another graduate from Newcastle," and it just kind of died a death. But I think it's up to you how you want to do it. But I think like you say, we can only give you advice. But at the end of the day, it's up to you how you want to deal with it yourself. There's no kind of right or wrong answer.
Gone to this whole debate and. About disclosure. I don't think there is a debate really. I think I'm very within the camp of that you have to disclose, and I go around making a right song and dance about it. Whenever I interview or whenever I go into a law firm, I'll make sure that graduate recruitment email all the trainees who are looking after the VAC schemers, that they all know that I've got a visual impairment, and I email the whole floor when I get there to let them know that I've got a visual impairment. And then I'm sitting there in my chair with two screens in front of me, reverse polarised with a scanner next to me, and everyone swings by and is really interested in what I'm doing. But you need to save yourself that embarrassment of when you're, you know, in a board meeting or trying to consult some notes, or someone hands you a whole brochure of documents that they don't know the situation. If you turn up at an interview and you say, "Sorry, I've got a visual impairment, and sorry, I can't do the written exercise," you know, that's not going to reflect well on you because you haven't organised yourself. You know, I had an interview today, and I contacted them 2 weeks in advance to let them know I had a visual impairment, and they're always, you know, more than happy to always make the reasonable adjustments. That all law firms are willing to pay for a sighted helper to accompany me. You know, I take my accessible software, and I have to do a writing exercise today. So I could just do that on my jaw system on my computer. But you have to, you know, I think you need to be really open about the situation so the firm knows how to approach it. You know, that no firm, you know, will ever I don't think, or ever encountered any firm that has discriminated against my visual impairment. You know, I think it might reflect positively upon you that you've overcome challenges and you're sitting there in front of them, you know, ready to you know, undertake the job in an interview. You know, it's never phased me in that sense. So I think openness and the real ability to communicate effectively with them is, you know, reflects well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always pro-disclosing prior to hand. I'll take you at an earlier stage, for example, when I was applying to university. I disclosed it on my UCAS form, informed the university prior to hand that I do need these adjustments when exams take place. When I met the counsellor, we discussed everything, and she was also able to provide me with other stuff. For example, extension on coursework deadlines, extension on library loan books. So when you disclose your disability prior to hand, it will always benefits you in the sense that the other party knows what sort of needs you require, and they'll be more than happy to accommodate you. I'll just echo what everyone has said. It's up to you whether you want to disclose it or not, but I prefer disclosing it before to make it easier for you and for them. It's embarrassing when it's at a later stage to tell them, well, I have a visual impairment and this is what I require.
If you tell them at a later stage, it's almost as if you're trying to hiding something before.
Yeah.
But as everyone said, it's up to yourselves. I filled out lots of graduate scheme application forms, and I tried to be quite tactful on them. If they ever asked if you had a disability, I would always tick the box and say yes and say I'm registered blind. However, if I would try and turn it around to be a positive. So yes, I'm registered blind, but I've achieved this at university and I've achieved this in life, and so almost to say you've conquered it, and so you turn it into a positive, say that this actually, I'm blind, however I've done this, and sort of I think employers look quite favourably on that, because if in the future they know that if something, a massive challenge is thrown at you at work and you've reacted quite positively, if say for example for going blind, if something that's kind of got on a major scale, whereas how many instances at work is something as major as that going to happen, and so they kind of think if you can deal with that, then you can deal with most things that are thrown at you at work. So in the examples on application forms, if ever I've mentioned a visual impairment, I will try and flip it around as a positive, and don't dwell on it and make it sort of, don't say unfortunately, I'm just trying to turn it into a positive. There's also something called, Dan might be able to correct me, the 3-tick policy? 2-tick policy. So for example, that actually can help us in some ways. That the 2-tick policy is where you're actually guaranteed an interview if you pass all the other requirements. And so if you have that ability to communicate well at interview, which Blind in Business are really good at helping, trying to improve your confidence for interviews and giving you training, then you can actually have almost an advantage to some others. On the flip side, if you declare that you're registered blind, for example, and you're filtered out for any reason that you might not know, I kind of think that if someone doesn't want to give you an interview, however at that stage, then that company isn't the right one for myself, because if you're having that issue, then once you get into work, there could be other issues that could unfold. And I do think attitudes are changing as well towards disability, being registered blind. So for example, people don't actually understand what software is and how you can work as effectively in the workplace. And so kind of the old school of thought may have been, oh, they can't do that, they're blind. However, I do feel that that's changing due to several reasons. So
you have to be in control in the application process. You have to lead the firm into what you want. When a firm asks me what I want in terms of extra time, I'll say 100%. So I want to be, extra. I want to be relaxed during the process. You've got to use that and guide the firm. They don't come across blind graduates all the time. They don't come across visually impaired graduates. You've got to lead them. And I think we have to depart away from what Ian was saying about advantage and disadvantage. It's not. It's a different way of doing things. And that's what you have to remember. I'm churning out work as well as other people. It's just a different way of doing things. I've done 2 years of a degree. I haven't read a single word. I've taken it all through my ears. It's just a different way of doing things. It's not.
For my current job, I declared on the form that I was registered blind, and then when I was accepted for interview, they then emailed me to ask how they could help and what the procedure was. So, like Michael said, you're sort of then in the driving seat. So I said that in the interview process, obviously I wouldn't be able to read any documents, and I was told that I'd have to do a presentation. So I asked if I could take along my own laptop, my own machine, with JAWS on it, so I'd be able to write the presentation, and then also have sighted support whilst I was there. And so one of the employees actually assisted me and read any tasks that I had to fulfil during the presentation to me, and then actually I had to present the presentation on a flip chart, and so I composed the presentation on my laptop and then relayed that to the member of staff there, and then that's how I operated. I also had extra time, as Michael also mentioned.